They were two doctors from Birmingham, Alabama. I strike up a conversation with them, and they said, "What do you do for a living?" I said, "Oh, I'm a farmer." And they said, "Oh, like goats and chickens and stuff?" I said, "No, ma'am." I said, "I'm a row crop farmer. I grow corn, cotton, soybeans, wheat, that kind of thing." And they were amazed. They said, "People still do that?" I said, "Where do you think your food comes from?" She honestly looked at me and told me Walmart. The public in general is not in touch with agriculture. They have no idea where their food comes from. They have no idea the sacrifices the people that produce it make. They just know they've never had to do without food in the last 50 years.
I'm Thomas Murray. I'm from Russellville, Alabama. I'm 49 years old, and I'm a poor farmer. My granddaddy, he raised me and started me into farming, and that's all I ever wanted to do. It's hard to make a living out here. I get up about 5:30, eat breakfast, go to the field and stay till dark or a little after it, and eat supper about 9 o'clock. My family's been here over 100 years on this same spot of land, and I want to keep it going. I don't want to be the one to stop it, or I don't want my kids to stop it. I want it to go forever. Tommy has just graduated, and he's really moved things forward because we got two people to do it now instead of one.
I've been farming with my dad ever since I was big enough to drive a tractor. I've always wanted to farm, and it's kind of been my dream. I just always liked it because you ain't never really doing the same thing. You ain't got nobody really bossing over you. That's more or less what I like to do. I don't like to be bossed around.
Tommy is a very hard worker. He seems to have been born to farm, so to speak. He's been very interested since he's just a small child. He can work on things mechanically quite well. He doesn't really like to read, but he loves to work.
Jacob, he does a lot, but he's still going to school, and he helps in the evenings, Saturday and Sunday.
I've been on the farm for about 7 years. Get up in the morning, get dressed, and you go to school. They come home and sometimes go to work.
I haven't really decided yet how he's going to feel about farming full time. He likes some of it, but I don't see that he likes as much of the work part as far as farming as Tommy always has. So I'm a little undecided as to what part of farming he will go into. And of course, this time of year, it's when we're picking cotton. I normally operate the module builder, packing the cotton. Sometimes I'll have to take the bowl buggy and go get it. And then I normally go off to work. Have to be at work at 8 o'clock at the extension office. And when I come home about 5 o'clock, I normally tend to whatever they need and have supper. I know there's been times when if I didn't work outside off the farm, it would be hard to make ends meet, so to speak.
I lost $12,000 in I believe it's 78 or 79. And I like to never outcome it. I had to have a sale and sell out and start over. And, well, I've had a rough time of that.
Yeah, last year we just about lost it all. A field right beside us right over there, we had to replant it 3 times. Planted it one time, it was some bad seeds, and then we planted it again. And then with some bad seeds, and we went down to Auburn and bought some seeds from them, and them finally worked. It's not the best cotton, but it worked finally.
What I dislike about farming is you're out running and having a good day, and then some little something will tear up, and you either have to stop and work on it half a day, or You may have to stop and work on it for 2 or 3 days, just depending on how long it takes you to get parts. Some leaves and trash on the motor caught a fire, and the diesel fuel, it burnt some lines off, and the diesel fuel ignited, made it even worse. And then it started dripping off into the grass, and before you know it, the fields fall. And then it burns the woods.
Would you say today was a pretty average day for your life? Pretty
much.
Well, I was trying to bust these rocks up so I get across the creek to get to the test plot. I couldn't get across last time. The big boulders were in the way. My tire wouldn't go over. I was afraid I'd knock the bottom out of my truck to get to the test plot. I don't think I'll have a problem getting across, but I was trying to make it a little more gravelly here on some of this slick bottom. My name is Tim Reid. I am an Auburn University Extension Specialist. Entomology is the field I have a degree in, and primary job responsibility is the state extension, cotton, soybean, and sod farm entomologist. I first met Thomas Wayne when I moved back to North Alabama. He was always interested in cooperating with me in my test plots, and he always managed to somehow get the plot planted, get the plot harvested, and help me get the yields I needed and the data I needed. And now that his son is farming with him, they're going to have a pretty decent crop this year. And if the bank will loan them enough money, they will expand their acres again next year.
We farm nearly 1,000 acres. Next year we'll be farming 1,300, and next year we'll be farming 1,500. The big people get everything a lot cheaper than we get to buy it. If you buy it in big volume, you get it cheaper. And that's what we want to do, is get bigger where we can buy it cheaper, but, you know, 7 days a week working is pretty rough, ain't it?
The more acres he has, the more efficiently he can use his equipment. And the cotton pickers keep getting bigger, and each picker costs more, but it'll handle more acres. Now they can put the cotton in bales after it's picked and automatically just throw them out on the ground. It makes it a lot easier, less labor intensive to pack the cotton up and get it to the gins.
Agriculture is a big user of technology. You might not think about agriculture being a high-tech business. And to look at us farmers and people like me, we don't look like we're high-tech, but we use global position system all the time. Tractors now have automatic guidance where the grower just sets up there and the tractor drives itself. And the big technologies that we have, essentially what they do, they either going to increase our productivity or they're going to have to use less labor. A farmer now can work a whole lot more acres than he could 5 years ago because of the technology increase. Agriculture in this country is just a big business, and it's going to be find a way to make more off of less, essentially.
My name is Darnell. Been farming my entire life. Started off with my dad, mom, and eventually picked up land of my own. And then in the last 4 or 5 years, Heath and I have formed a partnership. We're 4,000 acres, give or take, and that's big for this area. Now you go somewhere else and it would be small. You go somewhere else and it would be humongous. So it's all relative to where you are and what you're producing. You know, technically we're a corporation, but we're definitely a family farm. When people see on the news corporate farms, it's supposed to paint some negative image of a farm where nobody cares about the quality. The fact of it is, a 50-acre farmer is not going to feed the country or the world. Basically everything we grow is genetically modified, and we haven't had any trouble.
They are stacking genetic traits within a variety now. Cotton, for example, you'll have the ability for that crop to keep any of the species of caterpillars from being able to devour the fruit of that cotton plant. Also in that crop, you'll have genes that will resist Roundup herbicide. The genetically modified crops will continue, in my opinion, to occupy the vast majority of the crop acres in Alabama and the country, simply because they are easier to grow.
We can't go back to farming it like we did 100 years ago. You have to have these technologies, the Roundup Ready and the resistance to certain insects, to be able to grow that many acres. You know, when you got 2 or 3 people doing it all. It's been a positive for us. We've made better yields, and the Roundup technology has made it a lot simpler to grow crops. And that's beginning to catch up with us because a lot of people have abused the Roundup technology.
This year we've had the problem with the pigweed, and we couldn't spray it, and we couldn't spray anything hardly. And the weeds just pretty much took it over. We was able to save it luckily, but we didn't think we was going to be able to, because this time we put so much Roundup in there trying to kill all these Roundup resistant weeds that it just didn't work. We hurt the cotton more than we did anything else.
Well, we've got 300 acres of regular old cotton. It's just, it ain't got any Bogard or Roundup Ready in it, and that's where we're having to fight the weeds so bad, because we've made them used to the Roundup, and the grasses is getting used to it too. I don't know what the answer is. It's really something.
The companies need to be profitable to stay in business. They're going to continue to generate more and more genetically advanced seed, and with that capability, the seed costs are probably going to increase. At what point the farmers will back off from buying genetically modified seed, depending on price, I can't say, but so far they've continued to pay the increasing cost of planting those genetically modified seed. If the companies wanted to help ensure the long-term sustainability of the farmers, they may want to consider looking at some type of risk-sharing situation where they don't just charge a flat fee for the seed. I feel that that's an option that they have for looking at trying to help farmers stay in business and continue selling them seed, whereas otherwise they may go out of business. And when a farmer goes out of business, usually another farmer picks up the land. How long can you keep doing that?
Farmers are only 2% of the population, and even that is probably only 1% of them are truly farming. That's their only income. A lot of people have an outside sources of income and stuff. So very, very small percentage of the U.S. now is farmers. When you start trying to farm, especially nowadays with equipment cost as they are, and just the production costs and stuff, it's a huge capital expense. And just coming up with the money, and then when you do come up with the money, it's borrowed money, a lot of it, and so you're really out on a limb, so you have a lot of apprehension about borrowing that much money. I'm a director with First South Farm Credit Bank, and we have some programs that are for young and beginning farmers that are specifically designed for them. So the money is there if it's a viable enterprise, and there is enough equity in it to make it where the risk is not overwhelming. You got to live on a shoestring on personal expenses, because everything you're going to make for the first 10 years of your farming career, you're going to pour right back into the farm. Over time, you can build your farming career up. You know, I know I did that, so it can be done.
There's no other industry like production agriculture. You can't control what you pay for your inputs, and you can't control what you sell your product for. If our cost of production goes up, we have no way of raising the price that we receive for our product. You take on the variables of weather and markets that you can't control.
All of your money that you put in the pot back in the spring is sitting out there waiting on you to gather. And every time it gets rained on, or every time the wind blows it down, you're losing money. So it's critical for you to be out there all you can together. You know, it ain't gonna wait on you very long.
We need it to be dry enough to get in the field, then we need it to rain, then we need it to be dry again to get it out of the field. And it's all got to fall right into certain timing. So you need some type of safety net to ensure that there's somebody out there farming. Every couple of years when the farm bill is passed, without fail, they will find some huge landowner out west that owns thousands of acres, and they'll show how much of a crop subsidy he received. And they'll dog out every farmer for receiving a federal subsidy. But Americans pay such a small percentage of their income on groceries. Other places in the world, it costs a lot bigger portion of their money to go get a good meal. And here we just take it for granted because we abundantly supply it.
Without subsidies, I would dare to say that a Happy Meal would cost $8 or $9. We're ensuring this country food that they can afford. They have food anywhere they want to go get it. I mean, we don't ever do without food.
We tend to produce enough in this country if we have a good yield that we can meet our own demand and export a significant part of it. Basically, what worst case scenario that I see, and barring some just terrible disaster, I see us as being able for the near term, the next 10 years for sure, being able to produce to meet our needs. I don't see the system collapsing. I do see a gradual attrition of row crop producers as droughts hit them and make it less profitable on a continuing basis. Over time, that scenario will put you out of business.
Years from now, I'd probably be, I don't know, hopefully I'd be married and out, I know I'd be out on my own, and probably a big house and working about 1,000, 1,500 acres by myself, and a lot better equipment than what we got now. And that way we can really make it bigger then.
The advice I'd have for Tommy would be to always work hard, stay true to what he believes in, just keep up the good work that he's doing right now, and don't slack.
Work like everything, as hard as you can, and don't never let up, don't matter what nobody says.
I would love to see in 20 years our children, my boy and his daughter even. His daughter, she's really into it. I would like to see them be interested in it. I would like for there to be something left for them to do. I would love for there to be a farm for them to step into, as me and Jared did. If it wasn't for our father, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing. I hope that there's still a way to make a living in agriculture the way we are right now.
We need to remember where our food comes from and that the people that are growing it don't have to grow it. If it was a lucrative situation that everybody could do and make money, more people would be doing it. But very few people jump into farming every year. I think that long term, we're going to see farmers continue to get bigger, fewer people getting into the farm business, and the ones that are left will be getting bigger and bigger as their neighbor retires or dies or goes broke.